Okay, we're recording.
Today is March 26, 2019, and I am Morgan Marshall. I'm interviewing Ms. Karen Martin. We are located in Academic Commons North and in Professor Monford's office in Brunswick, Georgia. We're conducting an interview as part of a project to record the history of the College of Coastal Georgia. Can you state your full name for me? Spell it first and last.
Yes, Karen, Karen, Martin, Martin.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Let's just start off by talking a bit about your life prior to College of Coastal Georgia.
Okay, how much detail do you want? I tried to be brief. Like I say, I went through this and I'm like, I get carried away, when you start thinking about it. But okay.
I read that you were born in Darien. Talk about a little when you grew up.
Right, I was actually born here in Brunswick, raised in Darien, lived there all my life, except when I went away to go to Georgia Southern. Went to elementary and high school there, graduated from Overthorpe Christian Academy in 1980. I don't know if y'all want dates, but I'll do the best I can on dates. And I started here as a student in the fall of 1980. And at that time, I believe the name was Brunswick College.
Oh, different name, okay.
Oh yeah, it's changed several times.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Over the years, yep. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, so I chose business. So I majored in business here, graduated in, I think, 82 with an associate's degree in business, and then I transferred to Georgia Southern and majored in business there and graduated with a bachelor's degree in December 1984. And then in 1986, I got married to my high school sweetheart, I'll say, and we have two daughters. Both of my daughters, Jessica and Kelsey, graduated from here last May 2018. Jessica is a BSN in nursing and she works at the hospital, and Kelsey got her associate's degree in science and is in pharmacy school in Savannah at South University. And my husband is in construction in Darien, land development construction.
Can you tell me a little bit about your experience when you first came to Coastal in 1980?
It was small, yeah, and there were like several of my classmates from Darien in the Christian school were students here. Our graduating class was probably 15 students. And out of those, I would say 7 or 8 came to college here. The others, went their separate ways and did their own things. And probably out of those 8, I'd say maybe 4 graduated with associate's degree, and maybe another 4 went on to advanced degrees. But I mean, basically, when I first came here, we had the gym. This building was not here. Academic Commons North was not here. Only had the Jones building and what we called the academic building. Had the student center, the library, and probably the plant building that's over across campus, and the one down near where I work in central receiving. I guess those buildings were on campus.
Okay.
And at that time you could, there was a student parking lot over in the gym like there is now, and then there was this big parking lot behind the library as it is now. But there was a road that went through the middle of the campus. Actually, it was probably only 10 years ago when that changed.
Really?
So at that time, you didn't have to go off campus onto Altama to get to the other end of the campus if you were driving.
Oh.
But anyway, it went through basically where the campus center is. The road went right through there and connected with the gym parking lot from the student parking lot. Okay. Then the student center, there was like a snack bar and a grill, which I love to go there and get grilled cheese sandwiches. And I think there was a pool table in there, so people hung out in there and studied and things like that. And then, like I say, I did some studying in the library from time to time, but it was very small then. I mean.
So the student center was pretty popular then? A lot of students went there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have a good time?
Yep.
When did you begin working at Coastal?
In August 1993.
What made you decide to come back and work after leaving?
Well, it's funny. I had, after graduating from Georgia Southern, I worked at a bank for a while. And then I worked at Rich CPAC here locally on St. Simon's in the financial planning department. And then I got a job with the state that was at the mental health center, like where they do, treat substance abuse and things like that. I was like the business office manager. So I did that like 5 years, and then it was, I happened to see there's a job opening here posted, so I came and applied, and thank the Lord I got the job, and have been here ever since. And of course, when I did that, when I took the job, it's like, I'll do that a few years and probably do something else. But then children came along, and they were really, really kind here, my supervisors, to work with me with my schedule. And I'll always be appreciative of that, because I just only worked part-time for a while, came in late when I had a baby, an infant, and came in like noon to 5 or something, worked part-time, and then slowly over the years, gradually have bumped back up to 40 hours a week.
That's very nice. Can you tell me a little, so I know that you're a buyer, can you tell me a little about what you do as far as?
Right. Our purchasing is governed by the Department of Administrative Services Purchasing Division, as well as the Board of Regents. We kind of fall under both of those umbrellas, so we have to follow both guidelines. So basically that's my job. I mean, not only do we, way back when I first started here, it was basically, I was the purchaser. I did all the buying. Everything was done by purchase orders on a typewriter.
Wow.
It was like a 3 or 4 part form, and then we had to distribute all the copies. And then as we've moved along, we went to, finally got a credit card, and that kind of freed up some time from doing all those purchase orders. And then slowly we've evolved into electronic purchasing and all that. And now actually we do purchase orders electronically, but now we're trying to get it out to everywhere on campus where people complete requisitions when they need to make a purchase. And right now it's kind of done manually, and they can scan it and email it to us, but we're going to do it in something called e-procurement in PeopleSoft. So we're trying to get all the areas on that in the next year or so. But I'm actually retiring in May, so I will not see that to completion.
Wow. Well, that's good for you.
I'm excited.
That's exciting. So you went from typewriters to credit cards to electronic purchasing now.
Correct.
Wow.
It's slowly evolved, little more advantages here and there, but then it's just coming along.
Was that the biggest change for you guys in terms of technology?
I would say definitely, and the email.
Email, right?
Definitely email, because otherwise you're transporting, Well, actually, when I was in the admin building, that's where I was located until like 2012, I believe, and in the business office, and the mailroom was actually located in there, so everyone came over to that area to pick up their mail, whereas now, we take it everywhere on campus. We deliver it. So, and that's still, although that's done every day, still there's a delay if you send something inter-office mail. Much easier to do it electronically. So that's been a substantial advantage. And the fax machine, now that was another thing. We probably had a fax machine in the beginning. I actually don't remember, but I know mostly that's how we did the orders, by phone and fax machine. And then it's evolved to electronic and.
The fax machine was so technologically advanced then, right?
Right, exactly.
Can you walk us through like a normal day for you? Like, what do you do within like a normal day?
Okay. Well, my hours now are 8 to 5, so normally I come in at 8 o'clock and check in. I have 2 employees that work for me. That's a senior buyer, Donna Smith, and central receiving clerk, Ed Curry. So I usually check in on them, see what they have planned for the day, and we'll kind of just, catch up on each other and see what's been going on personally, and business-wise. And then I generally start checking my email, responding to email, and try to prioritize and do what's most important. And I go into PeopleSoft and look at any electronic purchase requisitions that have been sent to me. And then normally print those out and either assign them to Donna or Ed. They both have P cards, so they do a lot of purchasing VIP card, but we also, some purchases, we have to issue purchase orders. So mainly Donna's the one that does the purchase orders, and she and Ed do credit card orders. So anyway, the majority of our orders are on credit card. And that's pretty much it. I mean, from day to day, that's the routine, and of course things come up. I'll be working on have intentions of working on something when I come in the morning, and I'll get an email or a phone call, and I have to stop on that and handle that right then, you know. So it just kind of prioritize as the day goes by, you know, and issues come up.
How has your position changed over the years from when you first started to where you are now that you're about to retire?
Okay, well, for one thing, back when I first, and I'm guessing at these numbers, but I think this is close. When I first started, anything over $1,500, you had to get like 3 competitive bids. Okay, so you had to, basically that was done by phone. You're calling vendors, getting them to provide you a quote for whatever items you're trying to purchase. Well, now, over the years, it's advanced, thank goodness, and now we're at the point of anything over $25,000, we have to do competitive bids. And those are done electronically through something called e-procurement on the Georgia Procurement Registry, which is something that's provided by Department of Administrative Services, state purchasing. So if we have an item we need to purchase over $25,000, we go out there and post it, and it electronically sends out emails to all the vendors that are listed for that code, and then they send their bids in before the deadline. Yes.
And so you guys just go with the cheapest person, or how does that go?
Yes, with a request for quote, we're just looking for the cheapest price. That is what we spec'd out, and that's why over the years you have people wanting to purchase items. You have to tell them, be very specific as to what you want. Normally, you're not supposed to make it so exclusive that no other brand could do exactly what this brand does, but it's like the major differences, you know, you have to keep those in mind and go with that and just get the closest item that matches those specs and for the lowest price. Now, if you're doing a request for proposal, that's where the vendor just sends in information and gives you options, like vending services coming up for that now for bid, and it's going to be a request for proposal, and we're going to be just soliciting the different vendors that provide that type of service, and they'll submit something and say, this is what we can give you, this is what we have to offer. So, and then you have to rate those based on, you score each question and each item, and then that's how you score those out and determine the.
Have you ever had somebody that is high, but they have everything that you need, and then they're like, because you said 25,000,
right? So
like, say somebody quotes you 30,000, but they don't have everything you need, as opposed to somebody who, I mean, they do have everything that you need, opposed to somebody who says 15,000, but it's not quite what you need.
No, if it's not quite what we need, we try to, in the beginning, that's why I try to guide folks to say, make sure your specifications, what it is you have to have, please put that in the specs, because if not, we'll end up, and if it comes in at the lowest price, we're going to have to take that unless we can specifically prove that their item does not meet our specs. So it's all hinging on how good those specifications are. Now, I'll also say this. I said the $25,000 is the bid limit. Anything above that we have to bid. But there's also state contracts out there, mandatory and convenience contracts through DOAS. It's contracts that they have bid out, and we're required to use those if the items are available, if it's a mandatory contract. Because so in the past we've run into situations where someone could go on Amazon and find a part that's cheaper on Amazon than it is on the mandatory state contract. But I've specifically been told, no, you have to, if it's mandatory contract, you have to go with that. So mainly that's my job, is just policing and making sure we're following all these rules and regulations. And needless to say, it was much simpler, way back than what it is now, because they continue to put as new laws are passed, additional restrictions are put on us, and they want additional information provided, additional reports. So it just continues to get more complicated, and then I can't
over the
right, and I can't say that it's definitely not more efficient, because they're asking us for more things that there's no way I believe that people are actually looking at some of these reports we're sending up there. They're just saying you have to do this, so they make sure we know that they may check what we're doing, but I honestly do not believe
they're looking at it.
No, I don't believe they can look at everything we send up. So I'm just saying, and all that, it's become much more complicated just because of the regulations and requirements.
We already kind of talked about the campus when you went here to school.
Right.
But from when you went here to school to when you became employed, the landmarks, you talked about how there was the street in the middle of the campus.
Right.
The bell tower, do you remember?
The bell, oh yes, I remember the bell tower.
And the alumni gate in Lake Teal.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me some about
the
changes?
bell tower, what I remember about that is that where the pedestrian mall is now, down from the pedestrian mall is where the bell tower was located, right at the corner of the Academic Commons South building. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not good at giving directions, so anyway, that's where it was, at the end of the pedestrian mall. That would be northeast of Academic Commons South, yeah. But I remember hearing the chimes, and it's one of those things now, I was earlier thinking about that, I'm like, I can almost hear that ringing in my ear, but it's one of those things that's been so long ago that, and you start thinking about it, and it's like, well, I really missed that. That was really neat, you know, when that was here and all that. You just really, it's after you lose something that you realize how, how cool it really was, and that's how I feel about that. What else? Like I said, there was a snack bar in the student center that was always neat, because you could go get hot French fries or grilled cheese, things like that.
While you were here, were there any construction going on?
There was not any construction that was going on. I actually think maybe this building was probably built from the time I graduated from here, and when I came to work here in 1993, I think this building must have been built during that time. But I think that's like the only building that I know of. But I mean, and maybe the continuing education building, what we call it, Southeast Georgia Conference Center, that's one of the newer buildings. One of the older new buildings, I'll say that, okay, that have come along since I graduated from here and been starting employment here. But then, like, of course, the campus center, all the residence halls have been built. I think probably all these buildings have been, Jones and Academic Commons South, I think they've all been renovated probably more than one time during that period. And then the, did I say campus center? Campus center was built, yeah. Oh, and the health and science building, that's the other one. So health and science building has been added, the campus center, all the residence halls. Yeah, in the time that, and mainly those the residence halls came after 2008, I think, when we became a 4-year college.
So when did you guys become a 4-year college?
About 2008. I think it's when the transition maybe started occurring.
Well, it says how's the school embraced new technologies over the years, but we kind of talked about how your department has embraced the new technologies. Right. You went from the typewriters. I can't imagine having to type.
Isn't that funny now that that's all there used to be, and now it's like students like you are like, how in the world? No. It was like,
I could not do that.
It was 3 or 4 part, you know, and had a carbon in, you know what I'm talking about, a carbon in between.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
That takes patience. That I don't have.
Yeah, and I wasn't a very good typist, so it was like, white out. Then we didn't have the little correction tape. We had the white out with the little brush.
Oh, with the brush.
Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
Thank God for
That's hard to work with.
100%. How have you embraced the new changes as the time has gone on, the new construction?
I mean, I've been fine with that. I figure that
Yeah.
means job security. If we're growing,
True.
if we're growing, they're gonna need
They're
people
gonna
doing
need you.
purchasing. Although I have not been able to convince them in the last 6 or 8 years that we really need another person added to our department, but you know, it's gonna be someone else's
Yeah.
task when I leave in May. So.
That really sounds exciting. Retire. What do you remember most about your time here at CCGA?
Well, I would say way back when I first started here, it was almost like a family.
Mhm.
There were so few faculty and staff. We didn't have that many part-time. I mean, now I think we have a lot of part-time faculty. Back then it was mainly full-time faculty. And actually several of them were my instructors when I was here as
When
a
you were in
student.
school.
Yeah,
Oh,
in the
wow.
80s, and they were still here in the 90s, and several of them actually retired from here. But anyway, it was almost like a family. Everyone knew everyone. And over the years, of course, as you grow, and we're by no means, we're a small institution compared to the others in the state of Georgia. So, but we still, I don't know, every time we go to some kind of campus-wide meeting, I'm like, I
It's
don't
a
know
lot.
anyone in here, and it's faculty and staff, but it's just, it's ever evolving, and like I say, we've been growing, so of course departments and people have been added. And of course the landscape of the place has changed, and buildings and all that, so, but I kinda went through that. I would say that's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
How do you think the community has reacted to the name changes? You said there were 2 name changes. You're at Brunswick College,
Brunswick Junior College.
Junior College,
Brunswick College.
Brunswick College.
Coastal Georgia Community College, and then College of Coastal Georgia. And the interesting thing, I was thinking about this earlier in the day, I thought, one thing about that's memorable to me, the name changes, because every time that happened, guess what? Purchasing had to order new letterhead and business cards for everyone on campus, so it was like, oh my gosh.
We're changing the name again.
Right, and do you know what that's going to cost the college?
Yeah.
But one time I will say another thing is that I had forgotten to mention earlier is where the SAC is now. That used to be like the Votech building. We had welding, machine technology. And I'm not going to be able to think of all of them.
But it's more
anyway,
like the technical side.
that's correct. We had technical programs on campus as well as, our associate's degrees.
Mhm.
But then we went to the 4-year, that was phased out, the technical, and then
Do
we
you
just
know when
went
that was phased out?
I'm thinking it was before 2008, somewhere probably between 2006 and 2008 that those went away, and as we were developing into a 4-year institution,
system.
right?
That's interesting. I never knew.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that because I thought that's pretty significant, what I'm saying, that's what that building was years ago.
When you were here as a student, you talked about how your graduating class was small and half of them came to Coastal.
Right.
What was your experience like in the classroom, as far as like teachers or the tools that you were given to use to study and stuff like that?
Basically, it was a lecture. We purchased our, of course, textbooks, and they lectured in the class and took notes, and then we had exams. There was really no technology available at that time.
No smartboard, no projector.
We did have a chalkboard, I believe. That's probably where we took our notes from, was the chalkboard. I don't even think they had dry erase boards then.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But all the professors were really kind and really understanding and really wanted you to learn. You could tell that they enjoy what they're doing, and they tried to convey that to their students and make you want to learn. And I'm sure that's how it is now, here. I've not been in a classroom, so I don't know, but that's what I would speculate. If the instructor's excited about the material, it's going to get the students excited, you know.
Did you join any clubs? Were there any organizations at the time?
The truth is, no, I did not join any clubs or organizations. I had a part-time job. Like I normally got my classes first thing in the morning, like 8 to 12 or whatever. And then I went back to Darien. I worked at Fred's as a cashier. So I worked there like my last 2 years of high school. When I could, but I played sports and all that, so I could maybe work on Saturdays. But then during college, the 2 years here, I worked pretty much 5 or 6 days a week in the afternoon at Fred's. So no, I really was like not a very involved in the campus, honestly. Yeah, because I was going to my job. So.
And you lived in Darien.
Yes.
So you had to drive back and forth there.
Right, but you know that drive. People say you drive from Darien every day.
I personally couldn't do it.
I'm like, yes, that's like driving probably for you from here to Publix or something. You know, I mean, it's not far.
Because we have our sport teams are tennis and basketball. Now we have golf. Did they have any of that when you were here in school?
I believe they probably had basketball. I don't think they had I don't know that they had anything women's, honestly. I think they had men's basketball, and I could be wrong about this. And they had tennis teams. Yeah, I remember for the longest time we'd had tennis and basketball was pretty much it. And could I go back and mention one other thing? In the gym, when I was a student here, what is now, I guess, like the exercise room, workout room and all that, where the gym equipment is, we used to have a swimming pool.
Oh.
Yes, and it was a required physical education class. You had to take swimming.
Oh.
Yeah. So everyone had to take swimming if they wanted to graduate. I guess unless they had some kind of waiver saying that they weren't able to do it. But I always thought that was kind of interesting, because then over the years, just kind of like one day when we still had, I still was working here and we still had the pool, and I'm like, so are the people still required to take swimming? And they're like, no. And then eventually they did away with it. But anyway, I think that's kind of a good thing when you look back, because us living on the coast, everyone needs to know how to at least try and swim, you know, so.
Do you have any memories or stories from your time here at CCGA that you'd like to share? Any funny stories?
You know, I was thinking earlier about that, trying to think. I mean, they're just random things. Nothing specific that comes to mind.
Since you're about to retire, exciting, what are you going to do when you leave?
I'm not sure.
Not sure?
Not working.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Hopefully I'll do some volunteer work. I do some stuff for my church now, so I may be more involved with that. And I'm going to work in my yard and work in my house and do all those things that I've not had time to do in the last 27 years or whatever.
Do you want to travel?
Oh, I would love to travel, yes. I would love to travel.
Do you have any steps that you'd like to see the college take in the future? I know you said you wanted another person in your department.
Certainly.
So just some more people in your department, basically?
More people, yeah, some additional person probably in my department. And I don't know, I think the college is doing fairly well, you know, and of course like to see enrollment grow, but I think that's the goal of the college, and that's an ever-evolving process. So.
Do you have any other memories of CCGA, the students, the community, or just in general?
Or your time on campus as a student yourself, so.
Right. What I'll say is there's so many people I have worked with over the years here that, you know, will be like lifelong friends. I mean, I run into them somewhere and it's just like, you know, just like old times, get to talking about things. But I actually was earlier thinking about that and thinking about the number of people. I mean, it's just like, I have no guess of how many people have you know what I'm saying, in my course of working year, how many people I have met and they have left or whatever, moved to other jobs, they've retired. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. Now, I'll tell you another thing is like I worked in the administration building from when I started here until like 2010 or 12, something like that. But used to, the administration building everything was in there. Financial aid, registrar's office, of course the president's office, the academic dean's office, the business office, human resources. But you know, now it's like, except student services and testing was upstairs in the Andrews building, I believe. And then downstairs was the student center. So I just thought that was quite, when I get to think about it, I'm like, wow, at how much we have expanded, I guess I'll say.
That's a great point, and I don't know if Morgan maybe already asked this, but in your experience, like, what has it been like to watch the college grow as an institution?
Oh, it's been an amazing experience just to remember what we were to what we have come to now. I mean, it's almost unbelievable,
right.
You know, it really is. And like y'all were asking about maybe pictures and things like that, and I do wish I had some pictures, because, you know, you kind of take things for granted, and I just over the years never thought about taking a picture of the bell tower or whatever, but I wish I would have. Now, I did have a question. Is Calvin DeWeese being interviewed?
No, I didn't get that name.
Now, he would be a good one, because he worked in the library, and he did photographs on campus.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So he may have some pictures.
If you know his contact information, I'd love to talk to him.
I don't have his contact information. Would HR give it to you?
Probably not, but I could give it a shot. Maybe somebody.
I'll ask. I'll ask my friend that she's no longer here, but she probably has his contact information.
Great, yeah.
But I was thinking about him today. He would probably be a great resource for that.
Okay.
And I mean, he was here when I came here, so I'm not sure what year he started, and he retired from here. So.
Well, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, he'd be a great resource. Mm-hmm.
Those are the other questions. She answered a good bit. She told me that where the
SAC?
Yeah, they had the technical side before the 4-year track.
We have
started.
welding, machine
and all that.
technology.
Did you guys talk about that?
Mhm.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I can't remember
never knew
what
that.
other programs were in there.
Mm.
I know it was those two.
When was that cut from the campus?
Probably about, and I'm guessing with these years, I would say 2006 to 2008.
Okay.
Something like that.
About the time
when
of
we
the 4-year.
transitioned to the 4-year, they did away with those technical programs. Yeah. And we had, like, you know, the licensed practical nurse, like the 1-year program, we had that. And I think we still have, I don't know that that's still around, but then we had like the x-ray technology, radiological technology, which that's still around, but the main ones are like the welding, machine shop. I can't think of the others, like I say.
So, if you could bring back one thing from the past that was on college, at college, the college did, and make it something today, what would you do? What would it be? Some tradition, some building that you miss now, something about
I would say
campus?
put the bell tower back.
All right.
Because I think that was like the landmark. That's what I think of when I think of the college, is that bell tower, for whatever reason, you know. I would say the bell tower for sure.
I kind of asked all me and Lisa's questions.
I feel like I've rambled with so much
No.
stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Did you get one?
Yeah.
All right, so we can wrap it up if you want to.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something else I was going to mention is not only did I come to school here, but I have an older brother and sister, and they both came to Brunswick Junior College and graduated. My sister with a nursing degree, and my brother did like drafting and design. That was another technical program we had.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of families do come here. A lot of
Mhm.
you see brothers and sisters, generations
Right,
come in. That's pretty
right.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Morgan, are we?
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry.
No problem.
Just trying to make sure
You covered
I
all your
cover
bases.
everything.
You can certainly call me later if something
Okay.
comes up that, you know, maybe I missed, didn't think about.
Just want to thank you for sharing your experience with me.
Well, you're
I
welcome, and I
definitely learned some
appreciate
things that I didn't know.
the
Yeah,
opportunity of, participating. Thank you.
I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.